Movement in VR is pretty wacky. Movement is hard to portray in a believable way
Despite the fact they are obviously
not moving. It's hard to portray despite not moving. But in the year of our Lord, 2013, Palmer shat out the first consumer-grade headset that didn't suck dick. Back then, people weren't really worried about advanced movement. Just being able to look around was enough to soil some britches, but as VR grew, a new technology was introduced with the release of the HTC Vive in the year of our Lord, 2015. Room scale. Now you can move around a virtual environment by getting your fat ass off the couch. This was pretty rad. Most people don't have a 20 by 20 room just lying around, and combined with being a bitch to set up, it was obvious room scale wasn't going to solve all our problems. Around this time, most developers just made games with little movement involved. Job Simulator and the like are just your lonely ass pressing buttons. It was neat for a time and did show off room scale, but I wanna press the buttons over there! Early days mostly consisted of teleport. Aim where you wanna go, and baby, you're there! Okay, maybe this doesn't work in fast-paced games. Well, fine, just tickle the joystick if you're so smart. Full locomotion. With the brand spanking new innovation of analog joysticks, you can move like a real video game character. But that makes me sicky-wicky. With some fiddling and optimizations, full locomotion works most of the time, but it can sometimes feel like you're playing an FPS rather than being that first person. And here we are today, with that slick transition in Half-Life Alyx. I usually try to keep myself from going ape over an upcoming game ever since Super Mario Odyssey. But come on, one of the camp counselors is coming back, and they're making a new Half-Life game? This is what we call an epic gamer moment. So I was excited. I counted down the seconds till release and played through the game 3 times, got all the achievements, and did its laundry. So I know my way around an Alyx. After beating the game, I was left a little underwhelmed. The whole experience, while amazing, was very status quo. And besides that one really cool level that everyone talks about and I don't want to spoil, felt like an inoffensive breeze. But it was my third playthrough that opened my third eye and showed me why. I played with continuous movement, like any self-respecting individual. The only thing is, the game wasn't meant to be played like that. See, this game has been in development since like 2016, and underwent rewrites, redesigns, pretty much any that a game can. The game we have now was only slapped together in the last 7 months of development. This is mostly because the game took so long to make. Valve took major inspiration from Budget Cuts, a game that was a leader in VR, over 4 years ago. The menuing, movement, and level design were all used as a base in which the team made Half-Life Alyx, but again, that was 4 years ago, in one of the fastest growing industries. VR's developed rapidly, and one game in particular showed off how much the industry had grown. Boneworks. This game pushed the bounds of VR. It is the most involved VR game on the market right now. It has a lot of problems, but the player can interact with its world far more than any other. With the mass adoption of continuous movement and Stress Level 0 ripping VR wide open, Valve had to adjust Half-Life Alyx. The game was originally to be shown off at the 2019 Game Awards, but with Boneworks coming out just 3 days prior, and Half-Life Alyx still having movement equatable to an office chair, Valve had to step down and get back to work. And work they did. The last 7-ish months of development saw massive changes to the game entirely. You can still spot differences in footage released only weeks before launch. All this to say, Half-Life Alyx was made to be played with teleport movement, which is what I did on my third playthrough. This gave me a whole new perspective on Half-Life Alyx and its design. Both movement options have issues. Teleport is slow and clunky, but lets developers create a more controlled experience. Continuous locomotion gives much more freedom to the player and allows for more interesting and advanced gameplay, but can make people sick and adds yet another variable for developers to deal with when designing levels. On top of all of this, you have to take into consideration immersion. Continuous movement is often cited as the most involved and immersive way to play VR. It's the closest thing we have to real-life movement, so naturally it should feel the most natural. However, once actually in-game, being jolted around by even the slightest input is really jarring. After doing some research and limiting myself to teleport movement, I realized that Valve's intention was for players to be using large-scale room scale. Look at any trailer footage and you'll see people physically walking around. I, like many, had written off room scale as just a basic part of VR, but using it as a means to interact with the world was very immersive, until I hit my wall, tripped over my wire, and knocked over my desk. Movement in VR still has a ways to go, but But I think we should remember, when considering its implementation, that we can take liberties. VR doesn't always have to emulate reality. If it does, it will always come short. Rather, VR is a way to build upon reality, do the impossible. If we really want to go beyond, we have to be willing to learn to walk again.